In 1962, 12 American Green Berets were sent to a British jungle warfare school in Malaya. They carried 40 kilograms of equipment each. Their British instructors carried 25. The Americans had M14 rifles measuring 44 inches. The British carried modified self-loading rifles cut down to 33. Within the first 3 hours, a single SAS sergeant had been walking 20 meters beside them without any of them detecting him. 6 weeks later, those 12 men wrote a classified field report. That report was not declassified until 1996. What it contained forced the Pentagon to rewrite how American special forces operate in dense terrain. This is what they wrote and why it changed everything. The Green Berets who arrived at the British Far East Land Forces Jungle Warfare School in Johor were not ordinary soldiers. They were hand-picked operators from the 5th Special Forces Group. Several had already completed advisory missions in the Mekong Delta. By every American measure, they were elite. Their commanding officer had been told this was a diplomatic posting, a 6-week exchange to strengthen the Anglo-American Special Forces relationship. A formality. The men treated it as such. When they stepped off the transport at Royal Air Force Changi in Singapore, they expected classrooms, briefings, and demonstrations they had already seen better versions of back home. What they found instead were British soldiers who did not look like soldiers at all. The instructors were lean to the point of wiry. Most weighed barely 11 stone. Their uniforms had been patched and restitched so many times the original fabric was hard to identify. Their boots were soft-soled canvas and rubber. One American staff sergeant described them in a letter home as something you would wear to mow a lawn. The first exercise was a 4-kilometer patrol through primary forest south of Kota Tinggi. The Americans expected to cover it in under 2 hours. Their SAS instructor told them to plan for 8. The Green Berets laughed openly. The sergeant did not argue. He simply said, "Try it your way first." They tried it their way. Standard patrol pace. Approximately 100 meters per hour through thick vegetation, rotating point man, security halts every 15 minutes, good noise discipline by American standards. 3 hours in, the British sergeant appeared beside the American point man. No one had heard him. No one had seen him move. He had been paralleling the patrol at less than 20 meters for over an hour, and not a single Green Beret had detected him. He tapped the point. Then he explained what they had done wrong. Their hard, cleated boot soles caught on every root and vine, producing a scraping noise audible at 50 meters. Their metal canteen cups rang faintly with each step. Their nylon webbing scraped against bark every time they squeezed between trees. Their M14 rifles, at 44 inches, snagged branches with every lateral movement. Individually, each sound was trivial. Together, they produced an acoustic trail that any competent tracker could follow blindfolded. A 4-man SAS patrol moving at standard rate barely registers above ambient noise, the sergeant told them. Your patrol is producing 3 to 4 times that level. In a quiet canopy where the background sits around 30 decibels, that difference is the difference between invisible and dead. None of them had ever thought about sound in those terms. They had trained in noise discipline, certainly. Hand signals, no talking, careful movement. But no one had measured the baseline acoustic output of their equipment, their footwear, their weapons, their method of walking, and explained that it was getting their own men killed. That was the moment the laughter stopped. To understand what the British instructors taught over the following 6 weeks, you have to understand where their knowledge came from. It did not come from a classroom. It came from 14 years of continuous jungle warfare. The Malayan Emergency ran from 1948 to 1960. Communist guerrillas operated from camps in primary forest, so dense that aerial reconnaissance could not penetrate the canopy. Conventional infantry patrols found nothing. The guerrillas heard the British coming from 400 meters away and simply relocated. Battalion-strength sweeps produced dismal results. The Special Air Service solved the problem by learning from the IBAN trackers of Sarawak. The IBAN moved through forest by testing each footfall with the outer edge of the heel before committing weight. Stepping between fallen branches, never on them. Everything lashed tight, wrapped in cloth, silenced. By the mid-1950s, SAS four-man patrols were locating guerrilla camps that battalion sweeps had missed entirely. The secret was not better weapons or more men. It was silence. But it was Borneo that forged the doctrine the Americans would eventually encounter. Confrontation with Indonesia from 1962 to 1966 required the SAS to operate along 1,000 miles of jungle border. Their mission was to track Indonesian incursions and conduct cross-border raids so secret the British government denied their existence until the 1990s. Every item a soldier carried had to be justified before departure. Rations were repacked from tins into lightweight cloth bags. Water went into soft bladders, not metal bottles. Ammunition was limited to 120 rounds per man for a 3-week deployment. That number horrified American planners accustomed to issuing 400 rounds for a 3-day operation. The logic was simple. If you needed 400 rounds, your mission was already over. You had been found. The SAS did not plan for firefights. They planned to never be detected at all. The walking technique took weeks to master. Heel placed first, outer edge making gentle contact. Weight transferred slowly, feeling for anything that might snap. Each step took 2 to 3 seconds. In thick undergrowth, it could take 5. A 4-kilometer patrol that Americans expected to finish in 2 hours took the SAS 8, and every minute of those 8 hours was deliberate. This was the doctrine presented to the 12 Green Berets in Johor, and it was dismantled and rebuilt one assumption at a time. The first change was equipment. An SAS instructor laid a standard American M14 on a table beside a modified British self-loading rifle with a cut-down barrel. The M14 measured 44 inches. The modified rifle measured 33. The Americans shrugged. 11 inches meant nothing. Then the instructor explained. In thick growth, a patrol makes contact with surrounding vegetation on average 200 times per 100 meters of movement. A shorter weapon reduces those contact points by 40 to 50% because the shorter barrel allows the soldier to angle the rifle vertically, threading it through gaps rather than pushing through them. Each avoided contact is one less sound. Over 1,000 meters, that is hundreds of sounds that never happen. Hundreds of moments the enemy does not hear you. A Green Beret captain objected. You are losing muzzle velocity. You are losing accuracy past 200 meters. The instructor asked one question. How many of your firefights in Vietnam have taken place beyond 50 meters? Silence. They knew the answer. Almost none. The second change was load. American standard patrol weight was 40 kilograms. The SAS standard was 25. The difference was not comfort. It was physics. A 40-kilogram load forces the body into a forward lean. That lean changes the footfall. The heel strikes harder. The recovery step is less controlled. Every movement is louder and every stumble is more frequent. At 25 kilograms, the soldier walks upright. The footfall is quieter. The body moves naturally, and natural movement in a forest is silent movement. The third change was pace. 100 meters per hour was the American standard for jungle patrol. The SAS operated at 25 to 40. To an American trained on decisive action and aggressive maneuver, moving at 25 meters per hour felt like doing nothing. The SAS instructors explained that doing nothing was precisely the point. In primary forest, ambush survival correlates directly with detection time. At 100 meters per hour, a patrol generates enough noise to be detected at approximately 200 meters. At 25 meters per hour with proper technique, that detection range drops below 15. The difference between 200 meters and 15 meters is the difference between an ambush at range and walking past a waiting enemy without them knowing you exist. The fourth change was the hardest. It was mental. American Special Forces doctrine was built on aggression. Make contact, win through superior volume of fire, seize the initiative. The SAS doctrine inverted every one of those principles. Firepower meant you had failed. Speed meant you would be heard. Sitting motionless for 9 hours while the enemy searched the area around you was not cowardice. It was the highest expression of the craft. One American officer described the SAS method as professional hiding. He meant it as an insult. The British instructors took it as a compliment. After 6 weeks, the 12 Green Berets returned home and submitted their classified field report. It recommended immediate adoption of Commonwealth jungle warfare methodology across all American Special Forces units in Southeast Asia. The report was shelved, filed and forgotten by an institution that did not want to hear that its soldiers were doing it wrong. 5 years later, American reconnaissance teams in Vietnam were being detected, tracked, and ambushed with devastating consistency. The Studies and Observations Group was running 6-man teams deep behind enemy lines. Casualty rates in some units exceeded 100% annually. The entire roster turning over in 12 months. The problem was exactly what those 12 Green Berets had warned about: acoustic signature. The constant noise that 6 men carrying 200 kilograms of collective equipment generate simply by moving through dense vegetation. When General Creighton Abrams finally requested cross-training between American and Commonwealth Special Forces in 1968, the results confirmed everything the original report had said. Detection rates dropped. Casualty rates fell. Veterans of the Studies and Observations Group later described it as the most significant tactical shift of their careers. The tragedy is the gap. 6 years. From 1962, when 12 Green Berets wrote down exactly what needed to change, to 1968, when the Army accepted they were right. 6 years of men dying in the jungle because the organization that sent them there would not accept that an ally in canvas boots and patched uniforms had already solved the problem. Today, every Tier 1 Special Operations unit in the Western world, including Delta Force and the Navy SEALs, trains in methodologies that trace directly back to those SAS patrols in Malaya and Borneo. The slow movement, the minimal load, the patience that looks like paralysis until you understand it is the single factor most likely to determine whether a patrol comes home alive. The staff sergeant who had written home calling the British instructors old men sent a second letter 6 weeks later. He described watching a 4-man SAS patrol step into primary forest and trying to follow them. They were 10 meters ahead of me. I could have hit them with a They were 10 meters ahead of me. I could have hit them with a thrown stone. Within 30 seconds they were gone, not hidden behind something. Gone. The forest closed over them as if they had never existed. I stood there listening, and I could not hear a single sound that was not the forest itself. That is when I understood. We had been playing at soldiering in the trees. Those men belonged to them. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Warfare Unspoken. These are the stories that do not get told until someone chooses to tell them. And if you are watching for the first time, there are more where this came from.